Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Realty Report.
Well, maybe we should just, let's do this, right? So people know. My name's Chad Marks. I'm from Rochester, New York. At the age of 24, I was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. I served 18 years. Eventually, Trump passed the First Step Act. When Trump passes the First Step Act, I file a motion pro se, and I'm actually, once that's filed, I get represented by John Gleason, who prosecuted John Gotti, became a federal judge, and later stepped off the bench after 23 years, and he helped me get out of prison. So I got out of prison early. As for my family life, I didn't have a traditional family. My father was a drug addict, left the house when I was about 3. He shot at me and my mother with a 12-gauge shotgun, and he took off with
Wow.
my mother's best friend and ended up in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I was pretty much raised for a long time by a single mother who eventually was a single mother on welfare, turned to the streets and became a crack cocaine dealer. And eventually that led me to that 40-year term in federal prison.
Incredible. Just from past history of, whether it's reading or knowing individuals that have done time with the feds, I fully understand of what you got and others got when Trump stepped in and made that act, that signed that bill into law, is basically a miracle. Would you say that was somewhat of a miracle?
Well, I mean, I remember being up, watching the election from my cell. I'm watching the TV. We're locked in, and everybody's thinking, "Hey, Hillary Clinton's going to save us," and then we're watching it, and she's winning, and then she starts losing. And then when I finally realized like it's over with, that Trump's going to be elected, yeah, I felt like, man, it's over. I'm stuck here for at least 4 more years, maybe 8, if he gets a second term. And then, for him to end up doing the things that he did, which, I mean, there was a big push from Ivanka and Jared, and he signs the First Step Back into law, and I'm able to get out of prison. But yeah, I thought it was a miracle at one point.
Amazing, amazing. Now, somewhere during your incarceration, um, you decided, besides all the stuff that goes on in prison, and I'm sure, I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to have a basic understanding on its survival. Survival, that's how you survive. But you decide that you're going to try to stay as avoid whatever you can, not avoid it, but unless it lands on your doorstep and comes directly to you, you're going to try to avoid certain things and educate yourself. Tell us about how you educated yourself and what you did with this education.
Okay, so the first prison I go to is USP Big Sandy, right? One of the most dangerous prisons in the country. Definitely, probably the most dangerous federal prison at that time.
Has that
Wasn't always
reputation?
wasn't always a nice guy, man. Wasn't always doing the right thing. Um, some people allege, the government alleges that I was a gang member at one time in prison, and
Right.
all of that stuff. Things that come with that prison life. Federal
Yep.
prison is racially segregated. It's filled with violence. My cellmate was Adam Oliveri, another well-known guy from New York. I think he was involved with Vinny Gorgeous at one time, and
Yeah.
he ends up stabbing the cop. So definitely a dangerous place, man. I mean, people are getting brutalized in there on a daily basis. But eventually, I do turn my life around, and I start to say, you know what, man? If they change the law, I want to be able to get the hell out of here. And I had a friend named Cedric Dean who was like, look, bro, they're going to change the law. And when you go before the parole board, everyone thought parole would come back. What are you going to tell them, man? You've been in prison fighting. You've been in prison stabbing. You've been in prison selling drugs, because that ain't going to get you out. So, that kind of clicked
Absolutely.
with me. Not right at that moment, but eventually it did click. And then I started to go to the law library. I was really going to the law library for my own case for years, right? Even though I was a
Help
law.
yourself, right?
Yeah, because no one's going to fight for your life like you are. I don't care how much
Absolutely.
hey, this is the best lawyer and this and that. Look, man, it's up to you. If you're going to put in the work and you're going to direct the lawyer, then you might be all right. So, eventually I did. I turned my life around. I ended up going to a medium security facility. And I got a college degree in prison. I started teaching programs, Leaders Breed Leaders, Alternative Violence Project seminars. I became a facilitator in that program. I wrote the reentry program when I made it to Raybrook for the prison. So I started to turn my life around. And eventually that would later work out for me when my judge, Judge Larimer, would reduce my sentence. And just the other day, he actually got rid of my federal probation. So after 3 years on a 5-year probation, he gave
Saw
me an
that.
early termination, but it was based off of, changing my life in prison and coming out here and, living my best life.
God bless you, man. You earned it. I saw that where you had put that up about you were off probation, and that's an amazing thing. Uh, Incredible. I know that feeling must have been like another, besides getting out of prison, then getting released from parole is like another relief in itself, a new life in itself again. And
It's
I
crazy. It's
want
crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go, Chad. Chad, you go.
As
Just thought.
crazy as it sounds, right? Like I told my wife, I couldn't wait to get off because every month I'm filling out a report, got to tell them how much money I make. And it was just a pain to have to come down here in my office and fill out this report. It was like, damn. And then when I get off, I know this is going to sound crazy. There was a sense of joy, but also a sense of sadness, I guess, where I was like, damn, man, like I've been dealing with these people for 20 years, man. This has been my life, 17 years, 5 months, and 21 days in federal prison, and now 3 years out here on, federal supervised release. I've been dealing with these people a long time, and now it's over with. And you're like, damn, you don't have that leash no more. And I remember the first day when I got out. As soon as my probation officer wants me to call him from the prison. He calls up there and he starts laying down the law. You can tell he's a real asshole, right? Right on the phone. And I can say that now. I'm off probation.
Without a doubt.
So as soon as
Please
I get
do.
out, he's like, this is what the rules are. This is after the phone call. You're going to get a job. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. And I'm like, look, man, I am the job. I'm going to show you. I can show you better than I can tell you. And I told him I was starting a legal and prison consultant firm. I've been doing legal work for many, many years. I've got many people out of prison, men and women, hundreds of men and women out of prison. And like I think I told you before, I wrote that first compassionate release motion after Trump passed the law. I wrote the Conrado Cantu case. He was the first person to win. That was out of the Northern District of Texas. So since then, thousands of people have gotten out. Of course, the lawyers were out here and they were able to make the motion better, but I wrote the first one. And since then, I've helped numerous people get out of prison since I've been, out. One of those guys is Chazzy Glenn. He was a guy that was involved in 2 murders. One of the founders of the G Shine Bloods in New York City. And I ended up getting his life sentence reduced to 30 years. Another guy named Noah Spino, who really turned his life around, got his life sentence reduced to 30 years. I just had another guy, which I feel really bad about, that went in at 24. He's been in for 40 years. Just got his sentence reduced by, I think, 33 years. Gregory Meyer.
You went in at 24, correct? Were you 24?
I went in at 24, yeah. And spent 17 years, 5 months, and 21 days in there. So, I have that paralegal company, Freedom Fighters. We do a lot of good work. But you know what I told dudes when I left prison? I wasn't just faking. I was going to be the voice of the voiceless and help some of these dudes get out of prison and have a second chance, and women.
I love it, Chad. I mean, the work you're doing, I've told you this before. You're doing work that, and it's not blowing smoke. It's a fact. I mean, what you're doing, helping people, I know in most cases you don't even charge people. And probably the majority of your cases, I can't speak for you, but I do know that. And I like what you said.
I do charge, but I also do cases for free. I mean, I
For
have
free.
a living to support my family.
Yeah, without a doubt, you got a family to feed, and you got to make a living. Exactly. But like, if you know somebody's still actively screwing around, you won't help them. And I understand that totally. You can't put you work so hard, you put your reputation on the line for somebody that's still gangbanging or whatever they're doing. You're not going to be part of that, and you're not going to help.
Let me give you an example in your viewers, right?
Please do.
I helped this guy Lonnie, who I'm in prison with. His case is in Florida. Very hard to win in Florida, even on a compassionate release back then. And I helped Lonnie. He's got like 20 years in, life sentence. I get him out of jail. And Lonnie goes back to jail within 6 months on a violation. And now he's back in jail with another 5 years on a violation. He got out on that violation, caught another one. And, I'm really disappointed because I thought he was a dude that really turned his life around. So I got that one wrong. Another guy, Troy Powell, I actually plugged him in from prison with some people through the Can Do organization and, just a bunch of people. And he ends up on the stage with Trump. And Trump calls him up there and says, hey, man, I want you to speak. Come on up here, Troy, say a few words. He gets out on all the crack amendments or whatever. And he goes up there and he can talk. He hardly can't talk. And then Troy catches a new conspiracy to distribute meth case. And I think he's got another 15 years. I helped this cat get on the stage with Trump, and that's what he did. It's disrespectful to me, disrespectful to Trump, disrespectful to all the people that, are in prison trying to get out. Like, hey, I deserve a second chance. So when
bad luck,
like that, yeah, it is very disappointing. That's
a bad luck. That's terrible. we had this conversation. We talked about you were unsure you were gonna maybe come down into New York City, and you wind up going out to L.A. And I know many people have on YouTube, especially with the numbers you could see, have watched that video on the danger you put yourself in, and we had spoken about it, and it's real danger that a lot of people maybe not truly understand. For my listeners, um, I won't, get into the nuts. And if you want to get into just a little basically about what went down in LA and what you were trying to do.
So yeah, I went to LA, man. We went to Skid Row because I had already been to Kensington, and I kind of wanted to see what was worse. Was it Kensington or Skid Row, right? You walk into Kensington, dude, there's needles all over the place. There are cops out there. People are actively
Absolutely.
using in front of the police, and no one cares. And I tried to engage the cops, in some conversation. And one cop talked a little bit on the video, the other one wouldn't. And pretty much at the end, when we weren't on video, the cops were like, "Look, bro, we keep these people here. We contain them here, so the good people of Philadelphia can have a life over there." So I ended up going to Skid Row. Yeah, it was pretty dangerous. We walk in there right away. Some dudes like, "Hey, man, you filming?" "Nah, man, we ain't filming." And these dudes are actually dudes that are living out there like the homeless people, and they're
Oh,
selling
wow.
dope out of like a piece of wood with a tarp over the top, and they're drug dealers. But inside, they got a television, they got an air conditioner. They're out there with a spot, a drug spot.
That's
Um, and then
incredible.
we had another person kind of threaten us, like, "Hey, you white boys won't come back here at night." And then we had another individual talking about, "I'll blow your head off down here." That was and it was a chick. It was a female. I thought it was a dude at first. And
It was a feeling.
yeah, just kind of brushed them off, man. But you could tell, by the time I was done with the video or done being in that area, I would say to me that Skid Row was a little more dangerous. And then I went to Figueroa Street. That's where all the prostitutes are. Many women are being, trafficked over
Hmm.
there. And actually, one of the black chicks was like, "Hey, you're white. Don't get out of the car." I'm like, "Man, I'm getting out of the car. I'm from New York, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
built like that. I can get out." But it was very,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a dangerous environment, man. We're down there, we're interviewing these chicks, talking to them about their life, and you know, really, man, telling them, "Hey, look, you don't want to be here. There's ways you can get out of here, but you got to be mentally strong, emotionally strong, not easy." So yeah, it was dangerous down there. We had a pimp kept circling us while we were talking to one of the females.
I saw in
Um,
the video the Mercedes kept going.
yeah, I don't think, and it's pretty much controlled by the Bloods and the Crips down there. So, a lot of people don't get out of their cars at night, right? Even if they're picking up chicks,
Not,
they're like, "Oh, we're out of here, jump in, let's go." Um,
not a doubt.
but I did something that probably no one else does. I got out of the car. No
No,
other YouTuber. I got out of the
no,
car and I talked to these women at night out on the strip, man. So
and that's why I'm talking about it, because you're not a self accolades guy. You don't blow smoke up your own ass. And but let me be the one to do it for you, because when good work is good work, and when you're doing things that nobody's doing, or more people should be doing, you need to be told about it. And I don't know if it's called rewarding, but acknowledged. And I acknowledge it and I respect it 1,000,000%. Um, your timing of doing this, we're talking about trafficking of young people, and this movie Sound of Freedom is out. I've been told, now I've done, for years, this has been going on for years, me and my wife, we've been reading and studying, basically studying about how these kidnapping rings take children, enslave them for many reasons, whether it's just enslavement, sexual, what do they call that? Rituals, sacrificing with rituals. I mean, we're talking about killing children and then in sex enslaving them. And your kid gets kidnapped and is gone, never to be seen again. And you're out there. You would talk. Some of those girls you were talking to were children. I mean, I look at them as children. I'm a grandfather. I'm a father. You're a father. I mean, 18 years old to me is a child. I mean, that's a baby to me. And
that
you're
girl,
saying, I
let me
mean,
stop you for a minute. The white girl that I interviewed, she actually called me on Instagram yesterday. And she pretty
wow.
much was like, "Look, since you did that video, I'm in danger out here. I need to get out of here." And I kind of talked to her, told her what she could do, gave her some resources, offered to help her out financially, with a bus
That's
ticket out of there back to her mom. And she's like, hold on. I'll call you right back. I think that the dude that was pimping her was coming up while I was talking to her, and she hasn't called me back. But Definitely put
Uh,
the offer out there to help her get back home with her parents.
the mere fact that she called you back, as you know, you made a difference in her thinking, and for her to pick up that phone and call you, man, I'm just so grateful. I'm trying to think, is there anything like if there's a youngster that's listening, that might be in the street already, uh, if they didn't learn enough from your story, is there anything you want to say to them? I mean, if they didn't learn enough from this.
I mean, the story's the same for them. It's the same for the women that are out there on Figueroa Street in LA, right?
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and decide, what's your worth? Ask yourself, what are you worth? I tell people that all the time. I tell dudes that in prison. If you're worth, $1 million, then you're probably really, not worth much. And I would tell dudes in my classes, this is how it would go. I'd go around the classroom and ask these dudes, man, what are you worth? Man, I'm worth $1 million. Another dude would say, man, I'm worth $1 billion, right? He wants to top the last guy. And I said, well, let me tell you what I was worth when I was in the street. I was worth whatever amount of drugs I had in my pocket, gun in my waist. I'm standing in front of the corner store.
absolutely.
I got $2,000 worth of drugs on me. That's what I'm worth. Because I'm taking a chance of getting robbed and killed. I'm taking a chance of going to prison. That's what I was worth. But today I'm priceless, man. And I think that people need to look in the mirror and realize that you're priceless, that your life is worth something. I mean, there's kids killing kids every day. I live in a dangerous place, man. Every single day, someone's getting shot here. And I'm
I
I'm not
know.
just exaggerating. It's every single day.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind when I did some numbers on, only because you had brought it to my attention. I think people are asleep at the wheel. Most people from afar, even people that live in the five boroughs, such as myself, we think we live, the Bronx is, Jamaica, Queens, whatever areas, Brooklyn, whatever. We think the cities do. No, where you are, upstate, Rochester, in that area, or you have the name of the towns. I know Erie. I was, one of my sons played ball up in Erie, and he was saying there were some areas of Erie weren't no joke. Now you know better than me, but people be
All
shocked.
over. I mean, all over up here. Buffalo,
Yeah, it's
Sarah,
all over the country. It's definitely all over the country. I
Rochester.
just,
Two dudes were just shot in front of my sister's house 2 days ago. Both shot at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, what? So,
I know.
I mean, it's definitely a dangerous place. But all these inner cities are dangerous, and the people that are listening, man, maybe some young dude is listening. Decide what your
I,
life is worth, because when you kill someone, you're probably going to prison for a very
yeah.
long time. Your life's worth more than that.
And we'll close this out. But you said something important, because it is important. I was actually taught this, old timers, but it still resonated with me 40 years later. And it's something you said about, you got to look in the mirror. And you know what? The mirror doesn't lie. The mirror doesn't lie. So if you don't like what you see, well, then it's up to you to make that change. That's just how I feel about it. But I agree with the mirror. You need to check yourself.
Talked about this the other day on my channel. My wife sent me something. I'd like to read. I'm trying to find it if I
Yeah,
can.
please do. Please
Oh,
do if you
here.
find it.
The best math you can learn is how to calculate the future cost of current decisions. That's probably something that people should really think about, man. I'm
Think
thinking.
about it. You got to reflect on that. Yes, definitely. Chad, I thank you so much, man. I've tried, and I know you've tried as well to accommodate me, and I thank you for my listeners. I thank you for your listeners that are going to get a chance to see this old timer. Uh, I thank you so much, man. I wish you nothing but the best. I truly believe, I feel that way, man. God bless you, your family. I know you're going to be fine. Keep doing God's work. That's what you're doing. It's trying to save young people, old. I don't care who you're saving. You're saving one life. You've done it all. God bless you. Keep going. I know on the ticker I put up your YouTube. Is there anywhere else people can see you? I know where I can find you. Let the people know where they can find you, man.
Okay, so yeah, they can check out my channel, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. That's on YouTube. I also got this TikTok thing that I put together. That's doing all right. I'm trying to find exactly how the it's at Bad Chad Zero. I made that when I first got out of prison, man. Someone helped me, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I think my
Okay.
Instagram is Chad Marks 101. And also they can
Okay.
check us out at Freedom Fighters. My email is
Yeah, I have that.
freedomfighterspc@gmail.com. They can check me out over there. Email me. We got a website up. We do a lot of good things, man. But
And
definitely
what's the name of
appreciate
your,
you having me on.
thank you so much. One more time. What's the name of your company that you do to represent people if they need any help legal wise?
Freedom Fighters.
Freedom Fighters, same as your email. Okay, Chad, God bless you, man. I wish you the best. I hope we're going to speak again. I'll hound you from time to time just to say hello, man. Check in on you, make sure you're good.
It's all
Okay.
good. Thank you. I
And
appreciate it.
after this, maybe I'll give you a call and we could discuss that other thing that maybe you needed a little help with on
Definitely
on
appreciate it. Thank you.
on Spotify. All right. Be well. Be well. I'll talk to you later, brother. Thank you so much. God bless. Be safe. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Realty Report, unveiling life events. I got a special gift for you tonight.